Ahoy! Today AGS announced a new patch on the PTR that is in many ways extremely questionable. One part of this are the leaderboards, which you can see right here. We dig deeper into those a little bit later, because otherwise I'll just catch myself ranting for half an hour just about the leaderboards, so we'll save that for the end. Let's talk about the other changes and the problems coming with that first. So, there is a warning here that this is not an all-encompassing patch, and this is just an early look at a number of changes. This is a warning that is on every patch, by the way. So, first thing we have here are changes to the combat and AI. Notable fixes fixed various issues that allowed players to perform actions with a faster move speed than intended, and fixed an issue where Purity of Light Lifestaff perk was not properly healing targets when a debuff was cleansed. Next, for the weapons, the hatchet had a fix to an issue that allowed the hatchet users to move faster than intended while performing attacks. The lifestaff fixed an issue where passives and perks would not always trigger while using a Biobomb hard rune. The Biobomb is massively bugged in general, so I'm kind of surprised we're not seeing more beyond that. The musket gets yet another fix for an issue that allowed muskets to fire shots faster than intended. The Mystic Sting hatchet gets fixed because it had the wrong strength attribute bonus, which is a decent hatchet because it has strength, keen, rogue, refreshing move, so good 2-perker I guess, but that strength was only 15, so now it should be 30. The trading post gets 2 fixes, fixed to an issue where level 60 items would sometimes show as able to be equipped by players level 50 to 59 the trading post, and fixed an issue with the trading post can equip filter not showing all rarities of items when close to max level. And then there are some quest fixes here for the Hold Back the Night quest, the faction kill missions targeting the spread, and the quest minus keepers. There are also some upcoming server merges: Tartarus into Nisa, Avalon into Lilith, Yggdrasil into Eldorado, and Jonas into Isabella. One of these is very much notable, and that is Tartarus into Nisa. Why is that notable? Because if we look at New World Database, then you will notice that Tartarus is a German-English server, and Nisa is a French-English server. So this will now be a triple language server, which is a very, very weird approach to this, when there is in fact another German-speaking server right here as well. So instead of merging the two German-English servers, or waiting a little bit until the population on both is slightly lower so that they can be merged without overcapping, because at the moment Aru would be a bit too full, they're doing this multi-language thing. Would be much better off merging Nisa into any English-speaking server, so it stays a French-English server basically, and then having Tartarus merge into the German server later if it becomes necessary. Like, this is just a very weird blend when there are plenty of other options they could have chosen instead that would have been better. But at this point you may be wondering, where are all the other changes? Where are the changes they talked about in Fortune Eternum? Where are the changes that were announced in the dev blog Combat Balance update? And rightfully so, because they very much said here that these things will be available in PTR, and then there may be more combat balance changes over the course of PTR. But we didn't even see the first ones in PTR, so what's up with that? They get a lot of criticism for that one, and Anwin said in response, unfortunately, near is not today, but still incoming. The downside of trying to indicate what's incoming is usually, when we've indicated incoming in the past, that's usually right before it is in, but we're trying to be more transparent with future-facing content, which means a little more of a wait than traditionally. That in theory is understandable, right? Sometimes things just take more time. But they really have been hyping up this upcoming PTR and the upcoming content a lot. They have been saying, this is coming soon, this is the stuff that's coming, you can expect this on PTR in multiple different places. And they have this standard sentence at the start here, where they could have easily included just a little bit more specific information. All it needed was saying, hey guys, we know that you're excited for the upcoming changes that we've already talked about, that you're hyped for that. Unfortunately, we can't put them into this week's PTR, but that will be coming very soon. We just need to test leaderboards first or whatever. If they're emphasizing transparency so heavily, then give us a little bit of transparency. Tell us why you're delaying this or why this is not coming this week. Just give us a basic idea, or even if not, just communicate more clearly that you are aware that we're expecting other changes and they just happen to not be here for a reason you maybe can't talk about. It just seems like such a basic thing to do, just basic community management or messaging from whichever end it failed, but something where you gotta wonder, where did the communication break apart that much that you couldn't add a single sentence to just explain that a little bit? Now having a bunch of people expecting a big exciting patch and then suddenly just getting this. And it might be that we're actually getting the changes that we're hoping for as early as next week. And instead, we're going to be hosting in-game events and providing rewards for participating in PTR next week. More information to come. So it sounds like they are planning to test things. I hope they're not just trying to test leaderboards and walls. That would be extremely disappointing at this point. But if there's more coming, cool. Why not just say that in the patch notes real quick? Say, okay, next week, this is coming. Why do we have to like complain and dig deeper in order to get those answers? I also feel sorry for anyone here who basically seems to have to carry this entire conversation and inform everyone now when they may not have been involved with the whole thing at all and may not have anything to do with it. But either way, we still have leaderboards to talk about. If you enjoyed the video so far, please consider subscribing and clicking the bell to stay updated once we actually hear more about the patch. Leaderboards is going to be a bit of a rant, just as a warning, because I am not happy with this at all. Now, leaderboards have been delayed for ages because they couldn't get them right. And now basically they've released almost the same version of leaderboards that was already on PTR, onto PTR again, despite having feedback that says maybe change some things about this. So the part of it that I think is great are mutated expedition. You get your rewards here if you get like top score in these expeditions. It turns out you can actually do that on any difficulty level, so it's not that hard to get one of these rewards on any of these difficulty levels. So like maybe you dedicate your team to speedrunning M6 for a week, whereas the best players will probably speedrun M10. But either way, you can probably get this Conquerors of the Tempest Soul skin, or this one here. And this skin is pretty much, visually at least, it appears the same as all the other leaderboard skin at the moment anyway. So maybe there's some color differences, but overall the idea for most of them seems to be the same. And I honestly think that leaderboards are really made for these speedrunning attempts. That's the perfect fit. Nothing wrong about that. I'm happy. This part should stay. This is the part that should go into the game. If they just release mutated expedition leaderboards and nothing else as the only leaderboard option for now, I'm happy. That's fine. Then people that want to do speedruns and want to do high score runs have something to do, and it doesn't mess with other modes. That is currently not the case. If we look into trade skills real quick, you have like the most crafted stuff. That doesn't really matter because there's no rewards for this, so big rich companies won't really make a difference in that regard. But for everything else, stuff matters. So we have open world PvP here, for example. The only way to get rewards here is influenced earned. So this is just a very grindy one, I would say, where you just do something dull for a long time. Fair enough. I don't mind that people get rewarded for just doing something grindy as well. So that's okay with me. I don't have a problem with that as such. But then we have arenas and OPR. Arenas literally don't get any rewards for anything at all. They get scoreboards, but no rewards. I don't know what's up with that. Maybe they think it's too exploitable, but well, we get to that in a second. That's a joke if that's the reason. I don't know what's up with it. It just doesn't make any sense that if they are rewarding the other modes, which in my opinion they shouldn't, then they're not rewarding Arena. Arena currently already gets the short end of the stick because they're not getting any specific rewards like the outpost cash. So this makes me wonder if someone on the AGS team just really hates arenas and doesn't like the state they're in, so they don't want to encourage people to play them at all, or what's up with that? I don't know. AGS, explain. But then we have Outpost Rush. You can look at all of the things you have Outpost Rush, no rewards, no rewards, no rewards, NPC kills, resources, damage dealt, doesn't matter. None of that matters. One thing matters. Score. And if you know anything about Outpost Rush, you know just how bad of an idea that is. And if you don't know anything about Outpost Rush, then look at Track. Track has been having a bit of fun on PTR. See, double the score of anyone else. If we go back to damage dealt, we can also see why. She's got more than double the damage of anyone else. And damage is playing very well into score in OPR. How did you do that? By farming someone who was healing themselves the whole time and then just constantly dealing damage and just standing in the corner of OPR. Great, huh? That's totally how the game should be played. That's totally, not a problem at all. They totally don't see any other ways where you could possibly somehow exploit the score. The score, the most refined system in New World. Alright, jokes aside. The score system in New World is just not worked out at all. It's basically still in alpha state. And it has been that way since launch. If you've ever played a tank, then you know exactly what I mean. Like, a ton of things for tanks, like damage blocked, aren't even tracked at all. There's not even any statistics for it. I don't even know if the game measures them. So them trying to base the reward system around score is an absolutely horrible idea because it heavily encourages people to basically only play ranged DPS because that is the easiest way to get score. If you want to have more bow PR, which is what the devs were saying is currently the case, then this is the best system to achieve it, because why would anyone run anything else, basically? Just kind of have ranged weapons of all kinds, sitting way, way, way away from the point and trying to deal the most damage possible to each other with a few healers in between. And if that isn't toxic enough for you, then have a look at Faction War, where we have exactly the same thing. All of the wins, all of the things that you would think would matter in terms of wars, if you fight a lot of wars and you win a lot of wars, surely there's a reward. Nope. It's all tied to score and only score. These capes actually look slightly different if you look at the Conqueror of War. Nice spelling, by the way. That's black capes, so they will look slightly different in design, but I mean, at the end of the day, who's going to remember what color means what anyways? What I can tell you is that score in war is just as busted as in OPR, if not worse. When I was playing very actively in a war-heavy company that was very successful on our server as well, we used to actively have to discourage people from stat padding and from focusing on getting on top of the leaderboards in order for the company to perform better. And that actually worked out very, very well. It is not very hard to get on top of a leaderboard in a war if you're playing a mage running Meteor Shower. You're going to deal a lot of AoE damage that gives you a lot of points that will have very little impact on the war itself. And I can assure you that this problem would get exponentially worse if war score is actually what is counting towards these seasonal rewards. And the same thing is once again true in invasions. Nothing actually matters. Some things like repairs or something don't even seem to be counted in here at all. All that matters, once again, is score. So they just want the whole team to sit at backgate with bows and pray that they get the most damage off and yell at each other not to steal their damage away, I don't know. Then you have corruption breaches, just score. Again, this is just a grindy one, just whoever plays the most, but you know, whatever. And then you have the trials, the PvE arenas. I don't know what that is about. I think those are some of the most outdated parts of New World. You still have to craft the resources in order to get in, and then you get a gold reward for it, I guess, but you might as well just take away the gold reward and take away the craftable part and just let people farm them, because the loot from them isn't even particularly good anyways. And who's gonna grind those? Like, this feels like an option for people that don't have any other way to get rewards. Like, oh, okay, you can't get all the PvP rewards or whatever, and you know, everything else is just not up your alley, then just go and farm the trials. The funniest part is that the trials actually also all seem to have unique capes. If you look very closely here on the right side, and I switch between the different trials, the color of the capes actually slightly changes, and it's a more unique color than most of the other capes have. So why is it effort invested into trials that much? So all in all, a lot of the leaderboards are just very, very bad measurements for performance, and I think modes that already have leaderboards, like any PvP mode and invasions, don't need a leaderboard for the leaderboard, because as long as the scoring system is as broken as it is now, that's just going to lead to problems. It's going to lead to a lot more toxicity. It's going to lead to people all running very similar builds in order to stat pad the most. It's just going to be toxicity everywhere, because everyone's going to just try and get this charts through score, and then other players may not care about it that much. And even the alternatives of doing something like using win rates would lead to similar problems with toxicity, whereas you could just do straight wins, but then it just becomes a measurement of who is playing the most. I would much rather see them work on an actual MMR system, an ELO system for PvP, so that you get a higher ranking, and through that ranking you can then show up in the leaderboards. That is a much better measurement than anything they're trying at the moment. That would obviously take time, but I am completely fine with that. Take it out, give us some actual better rewards for playing PvP modes, like give us some actually good drops from open world PvP, give us some better loot from arenas, like give us a cache at the end with like maybe one item inside, similar to OPR, with similar stat distribution, similar perk pools. That would do a lot more for PvP and encouraging playing the different modes than this weird score system that for some reason excludes arena and rewards score, which is the worst metric that New World has. I really hope that AGS reconsiders this whole leaderboard thing and just focuses on the mutated expeditions and reworks the rest and releases the other stuff later, and then gives us some actual balance changes, because that's much more interesting and fun to play. And also maybe fixes things like named loot on brimstone mobs. Like, that would actually encourage people to play the game actively. But I shouldn't be complaining too much. At least I get to play some more Smite next week, with a new patch coming out. But of course, there will still be plenty of new world videos that I am working on at the moment. For example, we're going to talk about Nimble very soon and how that's working currently. If you'd like to see that, consider subscribing and clicking the bell. Other than that, thanks to my patrons for supporting this video, and thank you for watching. Sloth out.